Tea time.
Happy New Year's, everyone! Souldin and the Grin Brothers here, and it's time for another episode of Tea Time. Now then, for today's Tea Time, well, I'm just marking the start of the new year just with the old classic English breakfast tea with a spot of milk. I think out of just about any sort of black tea, the addition of milk to English breakfast is kind of just it's the best enhancement possible, really. Like a lot of teas, they got more distinctiveness when they're without milk. English breakfast is just kind of bitter, but not in quite the appealing way that Earl Grey can be at times. So when you add milk, make English breakfast into a milk tea, it's like the pair were meant to be together. English breakfast tea and milk were just meant to be. In any case, yes, for today's tea, I shall be having English breakfast. And, this tea time is being uploaded on New Year's Day. And, this is something that I didn't do last year, but the tea time that I tend to try and do the moment on, to upload on New Year's Day is going over my favourite games of 2018. So, that'll be the subject today. Because I find it very funny that people often end up covering their favourite games of the year before the year's end. Like the Game Awards happens like the end of November, which misses out a bunch of December release games and even some late November games which they never got a chance to play. And other people will do it at Christmas time. But you end up getting quite a few games of that year at Christmas time as well. For instance, I got Yoko's Island Express at Christmas, which would have likely been on my list if it wasn't for a slight change I've decided to do on this year. But the fact is, I've only had a few days to play it, but I got to play it thanks to the Christmas holidays giving me that time off to play it. And I got it this year thanks to Christmas. So that's why I tend to wait until the end of the very year to actually do this tea time. Speaking of which, about the games I've played throughout the year, I'll have thrown up on screen about, let's say now, the games that I have played this year, including the games which will be included amongst the top 3, so you can have a guessing game as to which games I'm going to slowly reveal as my top 3 games of 2018. Oh, and that's another thing. In previous years where I've done this list, I've tried to do it as a top 6 favourite games of the year. However, I decided to change that for a few various reasons, one of which, in regards to 2017, I don't know, I felt very lackluster about gaming that year. Nothing was really exciting me. And I didn't end up playing that many new games, or to a large extent, enough time to really properly delve into them. And as a result, I was, having to scratch the bottom of the barrel to really make a top 6. Like, the top 6 games was literally just the games I happened to have played, in the new releases that I happened to have played that year. And that's also when I thought about saying, a lot of the YouTubers who do these top 10 games sort of thing, and they'll also do like a bottom 10 games, they have jobs relating to gaming, and they'll also, they've got the free time to play these games because it's how they make their money and such, whereas unfortunately I'm probably never going to be able to do that with the Grin Brothers, and I've got a job outside of the Grin Brothers channel as a result. So I don't have the free time to play as many games, and also a few of them actually get given games, for review purposes and such, so they have the, financial income to be able to acquire more games. I don't have that opportunity, and I'm trying to stick to a roughly 12 games per year limit, at least in terms of me purchasing them myself. So as a result, I figured, well, top 6 is a bit much. That's pretty much half the games I end up playing each year. So I figured, I'll cut it down to a top 3. That'll be a lot simpler. So then, I'll begin in a sec. Let me just clear my throat. It's unfortunate. I was originally planning for this video to have video footage, start off the new year in a really exciting way. Unfortunately, Rafi's away thanks to a New Year's pie and work the very next day, so he can't render it. My laptop has unfortunately had water spilt on it previously, so I'm a little bit worried about trying to render a more intensive video. And I'm a bit rushed for time. The footage I planned on recording, I've been ill the last couple days. Yeah, dreadfully ill. I'm still not feeling too well itself, but you know what they say, no pain, no gain. The show must go on, so here's Souldin's top 3 favourite games of 2018, and of course, the title will be a lot snappier and better than that. Okay, so then we begin off with number 3, and it's pretty interesting, this one, because it originally wasn't going to be number 3. Number 3 and number 2, within the last couple days, within like the last sort of week or so, have done a bit of a swap around, the more I ended up playing of them. But my third choice, my third favourite game of 2018, is Octopath Traveler for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is a game I had been looking forward to for quite a while. It was the game that caught my eye, well, the second biggest game that caught my eye at the sort of like, sort of when they were revealing stuff about the Nintendo Switch. I mean, the most eye-catching game, of course, was Bomberman being back, but Octopath Traveler was something that always caught my eye. It's created by the creators of the Bravely Default series, who I absolutely love the Bravely series, even though I've yet to complete a single game, because gosh darn, they're long and there's always some annoying thing you have to do to actually get proper completion of it. And, you know, it has a lovely art style, which was very charming. And I gotta say, if I did have a top 2017 games of 2017, Octopath Traveler's demo would have probably been on it. It was the first game on the Nintendo Switch that got me truly excited. Like, I had a lot of fun with Super Bomberman R, simply because Bomberman's Return. Night Adventure 2 is pretty good, and the Pokken Tournament DX is a great game, but it didn't get me excited for the Switch itself. I mean, Pokken Tournament DX was the best game I'd played at that point, and that was a port from a Wii U game. An enhanced port, but still a port. But Octopath Traveler was the first sort of like Switch exclusive that got me really excited, really pumped up. Doing Ulbrich and Primrose's sort of prologue campaigns was just enthralling. The combat system is simple but clever, with a lot of some nuances to it. It can sometimes get sort of repetitive if you know what you're doing, but there's a lot of sort of clever thought to going into how to get into the flow and pattern you need to be able to take down your enemies, to get their weaknesses all discovered, and the best sort of pattern of attacking them so that you're taking minimal damage by stun locking them as best as you can. As well as also using the opportunity to use other characters to be able to garner more money and resources via, you know, collecting debt from them, which you can do with any monster thanks to Tressa the Merchant, or robbing them, you know, stuff like that. And yeah, but the demo back then got me really pumped up, really enthralled with this game. So, of course, I've been looking forward to it for a long time. I got the collector's edition, and whilst there is a little bit of a gripe of it, but it was kind of something I was expecting, I absolutely love the time I've played with Octopath Traveler. The 8 characters I've got are all pretty fun to play as, if not in terms of the gameplay, in terms of the characters themselves. They have a base template, but they're a lot of fun. They're really well executed. The voice acting isn't always present, but it's pretty well done when it's there and really fits each character, even though Hannet causes Raffi to go insane with destruction of the English language, but it's humorous in how it's done. The saying, the world of it, there's a lot of like hidden lore to it and a lot of sort of details, and it's interesting to see how stories connect with one another, both in the more obvious ways and the subtle ways. Like I said, graphically it's really beautiful. I think they described it as like a HD SNES sort of game was they were going for, like HD pixel. You know, you got these gorgeous sort of landscapes, and then you got the pixel sprites for battles, and there's a lot of great RPG sort of like throwbacks, such as how the boss enemies, even if they're regular humans like you sort of thing, when they're a boss enemy they suddenly grow to like 10 and 100 times the size, because that's what boss sprites were like back in the old days of Final Fantasy. Yeah, again, characters are a lot of fun. You can mix and match the classes, and although character interaction doesn't happen too often because of the open nature of the game and the freedom of choices the game allows, when they do allow the characters to interact, it's a lot of fun. A lot of the sort of great sort of comics really has just been being to have more time to focus on the character interaction. So when it does pop up in game, it is a joy. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's more of a case of it being not perfect for me. Like I said, it's very open world. It's got a very free approach to things. It's a very non-linear game, which, okay, yes, there's set destinations, but which character you choose, which order you go in, which party members you have at the time, a lot of that is up to your choice, and there's a bit too much freedom for my liking. As a result of having so many characters' quests as well as quite a lot of leveling to do, it also means I'm probably never going to complete the game. I'll be impressed if I complete a single character's campaign, let alone managing to complete the entire game. Because, oh boy, there's a lot. And, yeah. So whilst I do love the game, the open world nature does make it so it's not entirely to my preference, but I think that's also impressive in of itself, that it has been a game which has just been a joy to sort of play, and I've have a love of the mechanics to it, which feels both tactical and fast-paced at the same time, despite being within a turn-based nature. And also, I'm impressed with how it's managed to sort of grip me in, the gameplay and story departments, the characters and such in the world, despite the open world nature, which is something that I'm usually not a fan of. And Octopath Traveler Dust is my third favourite game of 2018. I imagine for a lot of Nintendo Switch owners, that might repeat, because it's been a pretty popular one for the Nintendo Switch this year. And I'm really glad to see that. Not often is the games that I like end up being the popular choices. Number 2 then. Now, like I said before, this game was originally placed at number 3, the third spot. It was originally my third favourite game of 2018, but I've played it a little bit more, and I feel, and again, because of the open world nature I commented in regards to Octopath Traveler, I feel this game just managed to inch itself above Octopath Traveler, though to be fair, it was super close. My second favourite game of 2018 is Soul Calibur 6 for the Xbox One. Of course, it's also available on other systems such as the PS4, but Xbox One is where I played it. So it's Soul Calibur 6 for the Xbox One. And it's probably better that way because in terms of the control system, I prefer the Xbox One controller. So that helps also give it a little tiny step up, a little nudge as it were, to make it a little bit better than if I'd played on another system. In any case, yeah, Soul Calibur 6. People may remember that I played through Soul Calibur 5 on the Grin Brothers channel. I am not a fan of Soul Calibur 5. But I am a big fan of the Soul Calibur series. Soul Calibur 2 was a lot of fun, and Soul Calibur 3 is one of my favourite PS2 games of all. And, I've got a real love for a lot of the characters. Kilik, Lizardman, Janwa. So, of course, I was really looking forward to Soul Calibur 6 as a return to form, though I was also very cautious about it. I almost didn't get Soul Calibur 6. It was originally Rafi was going to be getting it, but then Code Vein got delayed, and I asked Rafi, I'm running out of games for this year. Can you let me purchase Soul Calibur 6? So I purchased Soul Calibur 6, and my blind faith put into it was rewarded. Like, I was not left disappointed. It's an amazing game. Like, even with features that had me particularly worried, such as the meter inclusion, I don't feel is as bad as I was fearing. Like reversal edge system, which kind of forces things into a rock, paper, scissors mechanic to break out of tough situations. Though can leave you pretty darn open if the enemy breaks through it. What is a pretty fun mechanic? Yoshimitsu actually uses the soul meter as part of his moveset, so the meter system actually works for far more enjoyable things than just using it as a finisher move. And they've also got the sort of like soul power-up mode that you can have, and Kila and Agwal have unique ones to them. And they've done a lot more of the meter than just having it as a super usage thing, and they haven't tied guard break or guard counters to it, which is super good. That's a huge improvement there. So that really annoyed me about Soul Calibur 5, because I was in that playthrough, I was constantly trying to use the guard sort of counter and wasn't getting it to work because apparently you needed a meter. But Soul Calibur 6 is a kind of dabbles over, it sort of covers the storyline of Soul Calibur 1 and 2, but a lot more added detail, a lot more focus on the details, and a lot more details that have never been explored. They've introduced Sassamel from Soul Calibur 3 earlier on, which is actually a pretty good move given he is immortal, so it's very easy for him to be anywhere in the timeline, and it helps set him up well for Soul Calibur 3. They have a story campaign where you create your own character and get to go through kind of the best sort of story mode sequence that Soul Calibur could have in a way. It's combining all the best elements of Soul Calibur 2's extra mode and Soul Calibur 3's arcade mode into one thing. And I absolutely love that, because I love Soul Calibur 2's extra mode, and Soul Calibur 3's arcade mode is still one of the campaign mode, as it were, where you pick a character and get multiple options to where you go. It's still, in my opinion, one of the best, is the best sort of way to do a story mode in a fighting game. And Soul Calibur 6 has a best of both worlds in that case. It doesn't immediately have the arcade endings for characters, the pre-existing Soul Calibur characters, but they have their own sort of chronicle mode, which allows to play important fights throughout the history, and like I said, covers details you never knew about before, whilst also giving you expansive insight into the story and the lore of Soul Calibur. And it's all done, and Soul Calibur's been very good at maintaining a consistency in its art style and its theming, and that goes just as well for like the menus and how they present the chronicle mode and all that. Like I said, the big thing is main sort of quest is the single player campaign, I think it's Lost Souls mode, where you create your own character. There's some slight minor nuisances. That's kind of Soul Calibur 6's biggest problem, is there's a lot of minor gripes, such as how you can create your character for the versus mode and online mode, But that same character can't just be poured over to the Lost Souls mode or vice versa. You have to just create it again from scratch, which is really cumbersome, but you can just note things down and do it like that. And likewise, loading times are horrific. Minor inconveniences. But there's nothing major problem with it. There's no real major problem with it. There's a big roster of characters. They play really well. The fighting's are really smooth. Everything's really well fine-tuned. The new mechanics they added are a lot better implemented than I was expecting. And the older mechanics, are returned in a good sort of style. The stages are pretty varied. I particularly love the boat stage with the rain and such. It's really graphically pleasing. Character customization, it's a bit light. Again, minor grievances, but they're adding a lot of it free with like the season pass. I say free. Well, apparently they're adding a lot free. They're also adding a lot of extra sort of costumes through the season pass, where basically you get a new character. You also get a bunch of armor as well for your custom characters and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a really enjoyable game in terms of its presentation. It's a really enjoyable game in terms of its combat. And it's also a pretty lengthy game. Like I've barely even gone past chapter 2 in the Lost Souls mode. Again, because I've been a little bit busy, with some other things recently and being sick. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast. I've been enjoying taking Nanka through Soul Calibur 6's storyline, as well as getting all these like extra details you didn't usually find out about the characters. I'm not a fan of Mitsurugi, but Mitsurugi's interactions with your main character in Lost Souls is hilarious. There's a lot you can do with it. There's an open world mechanic to Soul Calibur 6, but I feel it's a lot more refined. Like, they give you clearer sort of ideas of what level you need to be. This costs way too much to go there first. You can as an option, but it's not advised, So it's a lot more linear, but it gives you the option of some open world aspects, which I feel is a better way to do the open world. It doesn't cause you to stray off track too far, whilst also still allowing you a decent amount of freedom. So then, Soul Calibur 6. It was almost my number 3, but it became my number 2. My second favourite game of 2018. I'm going to have a sip of English breakfast. I don't feel like I need to really comment on that, because English breakfast is English breakfast. It's nice, it's soothing. When you add milk to it to make it a milk tea, there's a good bit of sweetness to it, but you can always feel that slight bitter edge to the end of it. This is PG Tips English breakfast. It's what my family usually have. Though I must admit, I'd say my favourite English breakfast would probably be the Yorkshire tea. It's a touch stronger, so there's a bit more of the bitter shine to it, but it's not enough to make to overcome the sweetness of the milk. This one does taste slightly different because I'm using green capped semi-skimmed milk instead of full fat milk, the blue capped milk, like I usually do. Because the other milk ended up going out of date. So, but yeah. So English breakfast is a lovely soothing tea as always. Okay, then now we move on to number 1, my favourite game of 2018, and this is pretty obvious, isn't it? Like, it's actually pretty funny. Every time the Bravely series team, I can never remember the name of their team, so I just call them the Bravely series people, make a game, it comes out the same year as the latest entry in my favourite franchise. So in like the year that Bravely Default came out, it got beat to number 1 spot by Kirby Triple Deluxe. The year Bravely 2nd came out, it got beat to the number 1 spot by Kirby Planet Robot. And of course, when Octopath Traveler came out this year, unfortunately it had come out after and during the same year as my number 1 favourite game of 2018, Kirby Star Allies. I absolutely love Kirby Star Allies. How much do I love Kirby Star Allies? It's possibly in my top 10 favourite video games of all time. I adore it. I'm not willing to place it on there in the top 10 just yet, because whilst I do think it is the better version of, it's the better game than Kirby's Adventure Wii, I haven't tried out the multiplayer with Raffi just yet, which I feel I need to test out to see if it can truly take over the spot. That said, Kirby Star Allies has wonderful level design, has a lot more exciting sort of stages than I feel than Kirby's Adventure Wii, with the Star Allies mechanic being a far better sort of unique mechanic than the hyper abilities in Kirby's Adventure Wii, which I feel has a lot better usages for the puzzles whilst allowing all characters to get involved. Admittedly, mine was with the AI, but again, I'll have to test how things work out when I play with Raffi with it. It's got all the sort of charm of the usual Kirby game, but backed up by the experience and the refinements of all the previous Kirby games. Some say it may not offer as much challenge, but as with all Kirby games, that challenge is again offered through the extra modes at the end of the game, the arena modes and such, is where you're going to find the challenge, and oh gosh, it does pack a punch. Furthermore, there is a ton of content to do, along with the sort of admittedly short story campaign, which is how I like my main campaigns of games. Thank you very much. I'm not sure when people find the time to complete all these games, but I prefer short and satisfying sort of main campaigns. Because then, you know, if I want to play more, that's where you put the work into the extra modes. That's where you can put the additional challenges. And that's what Kirby Star Allies does. There's a pretty fun meteor sort of smashing game where Kirby plays baseball with a meteorite, which is a nice sort of callback to the Megaton Punch, where Kirby just punches a planet into half. There's a pretty fun chopping wood game where you can play it with motion controls. As I said, there's an arena where you can take through as any characters, and you get a little achievement for a little sort of star upon each character for doing it as a team or even as solo. Which, my gosh, I am impressed with anyone who does any of those true arenas with solo Kirby, you know, non-ability Kirby. That must be a heck of a trial. Bravo to you. And you go to insane difficulties sort of with that. And with additional bosses thrown in. And of course there's the friend sort of mode, helper mode, I can't remember the name of the mode off the head, where you actually get to play as the partners. In particular, not only can you get to play as the regular partner abilities, like, I mean, heck, you get to play as Chef Kowalski, which is pretty incredible. Like, I played through the campaign as Chili, and I've played for it as Spider, and they've got little sort of funny little storylines out to him. Like Jim mentions how he's thinks he's come along to stop the planet Robobot invasion, but that's already happened in the previous game. So there's a lot of humour to that. You also get to play through as the game as like this little sort of like recreation of the levels from the main game into levels designed more specifically for the character themselves. So the puzzle elements are there designed to fit them and give it a thinking to them. And that's particularly been focused on with the Star Allies who are actually, you know, pre-existing established characters. Bandanidy, Kindididi, Meta Knight. And of course, the other thing that truly makes Kirby Star Allies amazing is the amount of free DLC. I mean, Ribbon and Adeline Return is amazing. You can play as Marx. Tangalore gives you depression because one of his abilities summons his dead wife. Wow. But yeah, and Magalore is such a douche that he throws out gem apples. He just wants you to spend money. And then Susie just has a gun. Riku and Kine work as a tag team together, and Dead plays DeRoach, which is one of Rafi's favourite Kirby characters of all. He loves Squeak Squad, and you get to summon all the Squeak Squad members through DeRoach, and there's Dark Meta Knight, which is an odd choice, but he gets to play like a combination of Sword, Wing, and Mirror, which is awesome. Yeah, there is just so much to love about Kirby Star Allies. There's so much love for the series, tons of tiny little Easter eggs and callbacks sort of thrown here and there. You get the helper abilities back in full force. You get to all with unique colours to them. You get to take control of them because Kirby can enslave people with their minds. The Highness fight, you know, Highness and the music there was amazing. And the final fight against Void Terminator, not spoiling the additional fights you can get in the other modes. I mean, you've probably been spoiled to it already, but there was lots of like additional sort of secret fights with lots of like hints towards a large amount of lore. But the Void Terminator fight is particularly cool and one which a lot of people get to because, again, the main campaign's pretty short. The Joy-Cons HD Rumble reminds you that it exists by having a heartbeat. It's terrifying. Of course, that's Kirby, where the cutesy pastel aesthetics is then, you know, combined with Eldritch abominations left, right, and centre. But yeah, Kirby Star Allies is, I'd say, almost just like the perfect Kirby game. I'm not sure if it's would be able to tripe Kirby's Fun Pack as my favourite Kirby game of all. I feel it needs that little bit more. But again, I've also got all the free DLC characters to go through, so maybe it could. Like, I feel it's like the closest they've ever really gotten to. There is just so much fan service and love thrown into this game, so much small pleasures. And, you know, just little fine-tuning things that work really well. There are ways it could be slightly improved. A few more varied bosses. They tend to repeat a few of them later on with, like, just stronger EX versions. But otherwise, Kirby Star Allies I've absolutely adored to bits. There was no competition. It was all... like, playing just through the main campaign and then getting to the extra modes, it was pretty much guaranteed to be my #1 favourite game of 2018. Heck, it's going to be hard to top it, to beat it as my favourite Switch game at this rate. So, yeah, I absolutely love Kirby Star Allies, and that's why it's my #1 favourite game of 2018. So those are my top 3 favourite games of 2018. And of course, at the start of this video, I would have shown you what some of the games I've played of 2018 are. So then, tell me, folks, what do you think about my favourite games of 2018? What are your favourite games of 2018? Or simply, if you don't want to worry about listing them, I mean, it can be a bit nerve-wracking sometimes listing them all, just tell me what games you've played 2018. You know, what games have you enjoyed? You know, happy discussions about it. So then, I thank you for listening, I hope you've enjoyed, and cheerio!